that are the damage of importance. And in this chart, we see that from 75 to 2009, we have extreme disasters and how they have increased in occurrence. In 2000 and 2009, we registered 63.3 events per year. And South America lately, and in 2010, Mexico suffered particularly from floods and these sort of events. In here, we have a very interesting chart rounding up all this concept, where we can see that the anomaly of the global temperature associated to the losses of catastrophes have a perfect correlation. This is in relation to floods. This is a report from the World Bank, where we see how the events in 5-year periods, how they have been increasing. Orange accounts for the global situation. All this situation has an incidence, a socioeconomic incidence that is not even. The dilemma here is that the most affected ones have nothing to do with this problem generation, but undoubtedly this affects everyone. The security of humankind generating conflicts and people moving from one place to another. As we were mentioning earlier, the issue of the prices and the market situation is varying, and we are seeing how the raw materials prices changed. We have different raw materials, energy, how they were increased in the last years with a tremendous increase around 2008, and we've had a recovery in prices in 2009, but it has come back in 2010 because they have increased also. This is telling us that the three cereals, the most important ones, would be having 15 to 20% higher prices. And talking about commodities and grains, that is foreseen they would be 24% higher. We have different expectations. Is very related to the biofuels situation that has been promoted as very environmental centered, and also in the case of greater demand of meat in Asia. So the prices have increased due to that, and the grains have absorbed due to the cost structure that is implied in the production. They have absorbed the volatility of prices, because this is more associated to the petroleum prices that during 2008 and up to now, variations have been dramatic. And unfortunately, the current scenario is going to be the same way. And we have the social issue. The poorest are not prepared and suffer the most, and they are living a brittle situation. And due to these non-controlled conditions, they are going to be quite injured. With all the development in Mexico, supporting regional economy and the politics, still has poverty at a certain level. We have 35% of people that are in extreme poverty and 11% that are indigent. So there is a huge task in order to take Mexicans to a reasonable lifestyle and development. And And we've got this climate change forces people to move to more watered places. And generally, the poorest people go to the riskiest places, to lowlands with low values also, where the incidence of adverse phenomenon occur. Migration, internally speaking, it's very frequent that we say that we have more damages, but more people are living in places that are not convenient. So many people are dying, many children are suffering because population has increased uncontrollably, and they are locating themselves in risky sites. So this migration issue and social problems is also seen from other standpoints, that talking about the remittances of people that have gone to different countries, and remittances are an important factor for the families where they live, and that's an important piece of their income. And those remittances are coming from more globalized economies that are being affected by these cycles mentioned previously. So the global crises are followed by remittances crisis. They have dropped awfully in the last years, and this is affecting family economies. Definitely, we have a summary of all this logical sequence, that this is growing, generating impacts in the poor population, and that the risks are increased due to this. We have to think about preparing ourselves in order to plan a system that is more resilient to these changes. Now, for the agricultural activity, irrigation may stabilize economy and maintain a certain income if it's performed appropriately. And due to the increase in food prices and the demand of the latter, it is demanded, and for many countries should pay attention to this because of their land, and that they have irrigation possibilities. And one of these countries is Mexico, and some other, not many, Brazil, Argentina, maybe some other South America country, and the producers are also consumers. So what is to come is quite interesting for rural development. But I'm going to tell you some aspects that I believe we must ponder, so damage is going to be stopped, and to take the opportunity in our advantage. Irrigation takes 25% of the water. That's important consideration, and displaces other usages. But the agriculture faces the competition that takes place in the cities that are growing so fast. So we've got a problem that much agriculture water will be used for the industry, and not only we find the competition issue, but also the source. We had the water from the rivers or shallow or underwater water. Now the underwater is even found in deeper depths. We also have problems in every environment, and an access issue, because the water is there, but we don't have the infrastructure to bring it along, or we don't have any available concessions. We have barriers impeding our access. So at times those deficits could be relative, and we've got management barriers that would hinder the use of that resource. So the expansion of irrigation is quite important, is taking place, and important investments are taking place, looking for the right and appropriate terrain, we have to take into account the impact in the environment, the competence with the urban sector, and the uncertainty in terms of climate that is growing, is not as stable as it was in the past. So anyone investing should take into account the measures in order to protect of extreme, because of hail, or maybe measures, and to have a very good agricultural insurance, paying an engineer to get the assistance and get a better exploitation management. So this water situation has these three elements that we've mentioned: the price increase, and you've talked about the fund piece. We don't have much of this practice because this is a very risky sector for bankers, and bankers have found safer businesses, credit cards, or they move the banks without requiring the growers. That's a very vital topic, because the resources that we are lacking for a modern economy is very expensive. We have to invest much on this. So, as I was telling you, this commodity increase is forcing many countries to invest more in irrigation in Russia, just to mention one example. So we must accelerate that investment in that sector. And the topic of funding has to mobilize capitals, not only by the government or by the private sector. And an important aspect there also is to go forward in the climate research, because the centers have lost their capacity to research. We need new instruments to give variability. Growers need very accurate forecasts to know what is going to happen today and in 6 months. These instruments are not available today here, but if we go to more developed agricultures, those are available at the present time. Another important aspect that the economy has, and the irrigation systems we experience, is this water decrease that is because of management, and the systems that were financed by the government that are not totally sustainable financially. They are still depending on subsidies from the government. The growers have been very comfortable with this situation, but the consequence in the long term is that the system is not delivering a good service. I don't pay, and the service doesn't get here, so we've wasted much time in this game of subsidies. And the investment in infrastructure has fallen. Any municipal or regional program is not covering 10 or 20% of what should be done. So this, we have new participants that want to take care of the environment. They would demand lands. They are going to insist on good practices, on banning certain pesticides, questioning certain crops, certain transgenic seeds. Those are associates very active in our agriculture business, because the business has to discuss with these groups that have the right and are entitled to talk about this. This will take agriculture activity to other places. The good lands are going to be devoted to different things, to a golf course, to cities, to schools, and the agriculture activity will go to more marginal areas, because that represents a reflection from difficulties. Countries such as Mexico are international sites for investment in agriculture because there is a very important investment in high value crops as grains, as soybean. We are eager to get more land in Mexico. The general numbers in a global sense of the 237 hectares around the world, we are calculating that in 2030 we must calculate 18% to 20%. We have to irrigate that percentage, otherwise the people won't have enough food. For that, we have to do many things in order to solve many questions that have to do with trading issues. We haven't talked about it, but as you know, something that is fundamental, many of the crops are totally subsidized or with sectorial arrangements that make competitiveness to be lost. Stability, but competitiveness is lost. And the access to the international market for small growers is still quite restricted due to the lack of investment in the value chains. Synthesizing the future perspective is that the population is going to be increased in a 50%, generating additional food demand. This requires the agricultural activity to be intensified in order to give service to this food demand, and we need this growth in production, requiring a great investment in infrastructure, and then the impact, the environmental impact that these new irrigated regions will have. And of course, it's going to happen, and I believe that many people are coming from that sector. There would be an intensification of the complementary river and irrigation, because these are areas that do not require irrigation, and they are going to be interesting to establish irrigation systems in a critical point. And there is another substantial piece that has to do with a more efficient use of water, rainfall, in order to increase productivity. There's much space to increase the balance handling of our crops, and there's not much research on this. It has not been as the same work that has been performed for irrigation purposes. So this modernization or this expansion has to be in comprehensive packages, because it's not possible to have a physical works without paying attention to the rest of the aspects, without achieving the objective. We must have a concept for service, because everything is for timely service, for a good service, reliable service, that every time I need it is available, for instance. At times it's not matching to activities that imply participation. If we are talking about businesses, we are talking about quality services. We need reforms. There must be some other ways to manage water and the volumes, water that is measured as it was addressed earlier, giving more financial situation, better situation, and we need an expense policy that has to be very clear. And essentially, the experience shows that the only systems that are successfully working are the system in which the users have paid somehow the service or the infrastructure, or that they have any property sense over that service. So this in the programs is incorporated in the programs I am talking about. So we have a very quick list of the things that we've pointed today. That would be the guidelines for this modernization and expansion that have to be performed in the irrigation and the expansion of the water reuse, in which Mexico has also been a leader in many So this has to be with the codes that have to do with the offer and demand, and we are articulating programs including this criteria and classification. Another one, please. And in the coast areas, another concern arising because of the ecosystem value, and that are suffering the most because they are generating the most important impacts. And regarding this, I believe it is important to enhance the role the government is playing, generating knowledge and a vision of what to do with water in the context of these changes. Mexico is the only country that has had fifth communication. What does that mean? Because countries have to commit to actions, and at some point these are called communications. So Mexico is in its fifth communication. And in the Climate International Conference, this takes place in all these politics documents. There is a decided willingness to act out, and we are giving technical assistance, we are giving financial resources that have to deal with this water sector, with the climate change sector. And at the time being, we have projects in several areas in the Gulf, paying attention to mangroves and modernizing the meteorological system, drinking water, etc. Definitely, and to close, I believe that the effects are being experienced right now. We must act out right now. The solutions have to be very fast, with a comprehensive vision included, and paying attention to the social aspect, and that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you.